In the United States of America, we consider our veterans heroes. Those that sign on the dotted line putting their lives at risk for people they do not even know. They did it for the love of country, for the love of their neighbor, and especially for the love of their families. I have 2 bikes dedicated to the American serviceman and woman. Let me show you these bikes. Hey, how you doing? My name is Richie, and this is my channel, Bronx Brothers Motorcycles. If you're a veteran of the United States military, I want to salute you and thank you for your service, first and foremost. Thank you for putting your life on the line for me, my family, and this whole country. It's not something I take lightly or for granted. I have many family members who have served in the military, and I know what a selfless act that is. Well, I would like to start by telling you that my family in large numbers has served this country. My oldest daughter served in Iraq, and that, though the proudest moment, was also the scariest. I have 2 brothers who have served in the military, as well as brother-in-laws, nieces, nephews, cousins. So many people in my family has served in the military ever since World War II. I live in a military town. I live in Virginia Beach, Virginia. Just about a mile and a half from my house is a naval air station. This area is known to be the heart of the Navy, with the world's largest naval base, Norfolk, just a few miles away. As a matter of fact, every branch of the military is represented here. Within a 1-hour radius, there are 12 military bases. If you served in the military, it's very likely you served in this area. If you didn't serve in the military, but you know someone who did, they very likely served in this area. Virginia is very well known for having many military bases. The proximity to Washington, D.C. is the main reason. So on this Veterans Day, I wanted to share my bikes with you. Bikes that are dedicated to the servicemen and women of this country. So let's go over my bikes real quick. This is a 1992 Kawasaki ZX11, known as the king of speed back in the day. It was the fastest production motorcycle in its time. This motorcycle right here has various modifications. Let's start with the engine. The engine is fully stock, but the transmission has been reworked by, maybe you're familiar with him, Larry McBride, Spider-Man. He's not too far from here. That's about an hour away. When I purchased this bike from my brother, it had second gear blown, which was a known problem for many of these bikes. They had a weak second gear. So I took it to Larry, and he undercut and welded the transmission. I've been doing burnouts in first and second ever since. Transmission is tough. This bike, for doing rolling burnouts, I tell you, there's nothing like it. It has a 4-inch extended swing arm, which gives it the proper look, if you ask me. I didn't like the way the wheel was further in on the bike, because it wasn't at the tail end there. So that 4-inch extension put it right where I wanted it. What else did I do to this bike? Well, this bike was triple black, and when I bought it, the first thing I did was I stripped it down, frame off, took the engine to Larry McBride, and I started removing the black paint from the frame, as well as polishing it, and the swing arm, and the front forks, and the wheels. Everything was black. Like I said, this bike was a triple black. So the only thing left black on it now is a few controls and the engine. So what else did I do to it? So I stripped the paint off the frame, polished it. I had it painted with this motif right here, which was, I wanted a military dedication to my family. So this is what I started with. I wanted a jet bike. I live near a jet base. It's probably a mile and a half up the road from me. That's where a lot of times when I'm doing videos in my driveway, I have to pause because the jets fly overhead often. I got the paint done. That took forever. I got into an argument with the guy. It took him almost 4 months to get that paint job done. Way longer than I anticipated. I added these mirrors. I added the blue screen. I was lucky to find that. Hand grips, levers, foot pegs. As you can see, these things are a little bit outdated by today's standards. But I haven't ridden this bike since 2015. So back in 2015, that's 9 years ago, these things were in style. This was the hot ticket. Custom chain guard. It has smoke lenses and the signal lights. Now, like a lot of bikes, you can't remove the signal lights on this bike. They're on the body. So I was lucky to find those smoked ones. Like I said, I had the seat reupholstered to my specifications. This has memory foam, and this has a basket weave pattern on the rider's seat. It has these little hooks here that you lift up if you want to strap something to your back seat. They do come in handy. This bike has a lot of blue LEDs, so at night it's a real eye catcher. I tell you one thing about this bike. Wherever I parked this bike, people gathered around. It was always the center of attention. Kids love it, adults love it. Matter of fact, let me show you some of my trophies. There's 7 trophies up there. Well, there's actually 6 and 1 first place award, which is that ribbon. 6 of those trophies are for that bike. I have 1 trophy up there for a gold wing that I customized. It won best of show. Maybe you've seen it if you follow this channel. Now let me show you my front fender. So this is my dedication to my family members who have served in the military. We'll start with World War II. That was my dad's uncle, whom I knew. He passed away. Next were 2 of my uncles. They fought in the Korean War. Next is the Vietnam War. My brother, my brother-in-law, 2 cousins. During the Reagan era, nobody dared mess with the U.S. And those are my family members who served during that time. With the exception of the last guy here, Michael Rodriguez is a good friend of mine. Then we have the Iraq-Afghanistan War. My daughter is at the top of the list. She served in Iraq. Then it's 2 brother-in-laws, and the rest are nieces and nephews. My family has served in all the branches with the exception of the Coast Guard. Now I have a bunch of nieces and nephews who are not on this bike. I have a nephew who graduated from the Naval Academy as a nuclear engineer. I have another nephew who was in the Army. A niece who is currently in the Navy. Her sister is also in the Navy. And currently in the hotbed of the Middle East, I have a nephew who is deployed there for a year. He is a former Marine and is now in the Army. I owe it to them to get their names on this bike. I do have a seat cal for it, which I'm going to be putting. And that's where their names are going to be. Seat cal goes back here. So I have to get it painted and their names inscripted on it. So this is my 1992 Kawasaki ZX11. I love this bike. This bike is quick enough for me. Compared by today's bikes, it's not the fastest, but it is fast. It does rolling burnouts like nobody's business, and that's my expertise. I could do burnouts for days, rolling down the street. Now, one more thing with this bike. This is the bike that I've ever gone the fastest on two wheels. 170 miles per hour. In Mexico, of course. Okay, let's talk about the Harley. This is my 1994 Harley Davidson FXR. And I picked this up exactly a year ago from my nephew. The paint was actually done by my cousin, or he's the one that had it painted like this. He sold it to my nephew later on. As I previously stated, this is done by a lady called Yulia, and she has signed it. Not sure if you can make that out right there. But it was painted 10 years ago, 2014. This bike has been in the family for at least 15 years. So, most recently, I bought that centerpiece air cleaner. I added these risers. I added these mid-rise bars, all Thrashin. Added the mirrors, hand grips, brake levers, cleaned up the chrome. It was pretty filthy. Put new tires on it. It has Metzler Cruise Techs, front and rear. I put that crash bar. Put the exhaust. I put these foot pegs on here. I also changed the foot controls from forward controls to mid controls. That was a pain in the neck. This side, not so much. This little lever right here was underneath. So whoever pulled that out previously, dropped that to the bottom. So now I had to pull the primary itself out. I had to take the clutch out and all that stuff, the compensator. This bike's a little dusty right now. I don't like my bikes dirty, but I have a little problem with it, which is the rear wheel bearings. I have to change those out. Put the shift lever, I put that little shift rod, these rusty butcher foot pegs, which I like. Like I said, the handlebars, the risers at 9.5 with a pullback, Thrashin Supply, the Saddlemen Seat. And that Saddlemen Seat flips up. It's not the kind with a screw. It has a little lever on the other side and you lift it up. There you go. And that's how that seat opens. I had this sissy bar made by Combustion Industries. I had the plate put there because we have this on here and I didn't want to put a plate to cover that. So I had it put on the sissy bar. The exhaust is a Two Brothers. It's pretty loud. Not sure if you can tell, but the audio is messing up, so I'm having to narrate this. The air cleaner is done by a guy called Tony the Engraver. You can find him on Instagram. He lives in Spain. He's actually an Australian that lives in Spain, so he speaks English. He makes these by hand, one at a time. You have to get on his list. It takes him about 6 months before he'll get it to you. You have to give him a deposit, which I did, and I trusted the process. Guy came through. Good guy to deal with. Tires are brand new, as my brother says. They still have the little hairs on them. But I have not ridden this bike because I need to change that wheel bearing out. Now I know there's a few people out there who have been requesting some content on this bike. That's the problem with owning a few bikes like I do. It's like, which one am I gonna work with now? So this one's kind of on the back burner for now, but I will be getting to it soon. The seat, the Saddlemen seat, I love it. It's very comfortable. It holds you in place. So this is a military dedication for those who have given the ultimate sacrifice. I love this bike, 1994 FXR. Very popular and sought after. At this point, it's a collector's item. Well, as stated previously, if you're a veteran of the United States military, I salute you and thank you for your service. This video is dedicated to you. Thank you so much for watching. Now, if you haven't given this video a like, I would really appreciate it. And if you subscribe, I appreciate that even more. That is what us YouTubers work hard for, in bringing you the entertainment that you like and in bringing you content that you like. Well, you all have a safe week. Take care. Watch out with the crazy people on the roads. And I will catch you on the next one. Adios.